Every so often, a game comes along that completely grabs hold of you and refuses to let go. Mina the Hollower feels like one of those games. It's tough, weird, clever, packed with secrets, and somehow manages to feel nostalgic without ever feeling old-fashioned. Scott and I have been playing through the full game, so today we're reviewing Mina the Hollower, where the difficulty may divide people, and whether Yacht Club Games might genuinely have another modern indie classic on their hands. So, Scott, before we get into the specifics, what did you make of Mina the Hollower overall?
I mean, I'm sure this review we should delve deep into it, but I think in making my notes, I think that Yacht Club, I'm a huge mark for Shovel Knight. Every single person in the world knows this, and I think this stands head and shoulders above Shovel Knight. This is a certified banger of a video game, Liam. It's disgusting how good this shit is, man. Can't get enough of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one that has consumed yourself over the past couple of weeks. We've had this for a couple of weeks now. Shout out to Yacht Club Games who provided us the code for that. We should add that as well. For me, I was going into that as someone who wasn't overall big on Shovel Knight, particularly myself, but walked away enjoying the experience for sure. But I know this is one that I'd be really keen to just to hear your thoughts on it, because all the way through it, I'm like, this is a Scott Curry-ass game if I have ever seen one before.
It's almost as if they knew that when they were making it. So let's just make a game for Scott. Has his Steam Deck. Just give him something to play on it, 100%. And just super glue that thing to his hands as he's doing it. It's ridiculous, man.
True,
it's just incredible. Honestly, so good.
I know, and we're talking about obviously Scott Curry-ass games as well here, but I mean, the big thing for me that before we get into it is all going to come down to the combat. But I suppose before I touch on that, for people who aren't aware, because it's a really highly anticipated game, what is Mina the Hollower?
God. I mean, to describe it as simply as possible, it's an action-adventure game. You take control of Mina, who is a Hollower. And basically premise of the game is that you've been invited to come back to the Tenebrous Isle, which is a place that you've been before, where you created these spark generators to power the island, and they've become damaged. And they act as basically your hubs. So you travel to one area, to another area, to the next area, fixing these generators. That's your end goal for each area, basically. And as you do that, things progress and, things happen as they would do in a story. But in terms of, what it is, it's a bit of a lot of different things, Liam. That's the sort of difficult way to describe it. It captures the essence of, loads of game franchises that I can't get enough of. Put a little sprinkling of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past in there. You like that? Do you like Dark Souls games, Liam? Sprinkle a wee bit of that on top. And it's even got a bit of Castlevania in there. I think even the developers were saying that themselves, and that, these are all inspirations in terms of what they were trying to do to make this game. But it also does something completely different. Do you know what I mean? Like, it builds on those. If those are the pillars, if those are the foundations of a house, this is the mansion on top of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is just glorious to behold. It's so special. Honestly, I honestly can't get enough of it. It's just trying to not play it recently is like so hard.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like obviously you mentioned Dark Souls, the Bloodborne vibes is absolutely oozing out of this game from the get-go. And not to mention, also we'll get into it with the style as well. It's just like such a glorious little package here. But should also add, for people who are curious, this, like we mentioned, Yacht Club Games that are developing and publishing this, who made Shovel Knight. It's going to be out on 29th of May, and it's coming to PC, Mac, Linux, Nintendo Switch 1 and 2, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X, and I believe it's priced at around $19.99 as well. But Scott, we've talked there about one of the big influences that came out there with the FromSoft games in particular. But one thing that did immediately stand out to everybody watching footage of it upon reveal was just how responsive and varied the combat looked. But did you find yourself settling into one build or weapon, or does the game actually encourage experimentation for you with your
Oh,
pets?
I think this is where I will differ from a lot of people who are going to review this game, because I picked one weapon at the beginning and I stuck with it for 95% of the game until the last 5% where I had to give it up. Really, it was like I had to do it, just for just for the reviews sake. But yeah, so at the beginning of the game, you're given a choice of three. You're given a choice of the Night Star, which is the whip that we've all seen in all the trailers. You get a big hammer. I
Mhm.
can't remember what it's called though. It's like a maul of some sort. I'm trying to see if I can find you the name. The Blast Strike Maul, which is, you know, it's slow and you
Yeah.
have to commit to every single hit. And as you upgrade it, it gets even slower and even more committed in terms of how you actually use it. And then you've also got the coolest, if you thought Dante's guns in Devil May Cry sounded cool, you've got two knives called Whisper and Vesper, dual blades, which are, if you want to get in there quick, be mobile as Mina is, and rather than hit people one at a time,
Yeah.
chain together attacks and stuff, that's what you're doing. And not even the combat itself, that's just the weapons, those are the weapons that you're using. Then you've got to factor in the fact that, she's called Mina the Hollower for a reason.
Mhm.
Hollowing is basically the easiest way to describe it is that you can burrow underground and then you can sort of traverse the world using that. So
Yeah.
it's maybe 2 or 3 seconds underground that you're just kind of there, and then you pop back up elsewhere and you can sort of move around the world like that. You can control that freely. You can use that in combat. So,
Mhm.
like if a boss is coming right up at you, you know you're going to tank this hit. You can jump underground, get away behind him, and then start attacking his ass like you would do in a Dark Souls game. Like you have that mobility in it, and that's part of it. You've also got different trinkets and things as well. So I'm sure I'll touch on that a little bit later on, but those sort of modify how you
Mhm.
change your game and things as well. There's different modifiers in there that, that might increase your attack rate or how much damage you do on an attack, or they might, put certain things in the ground or change the way that you sort of play it in terms of how you actually interact with combat.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just everything. You're not just in there hitting things like any other game you could do. Do you know what I mean? Like you've actually got to consider what your build is going to be, and it could be anything. Like I played it using one build, for example, but you might change it, and it encourages that. It does encourage a little bit that change everything. Like if you can't get past a boss fight or a certain area, trinkets are not just for combat; they are for
Mhm.
the traversal as well. So you might change your mind in terms of you might want to be burrowed underground for a little bit longer than you can do, or you might want to use that to, you know, to to jump a little bit further, or to kind of float down when you land or whatever. Like there's loads of different ways that it changes it. It's
Yeah.
just incredible that variety in it is that you could play it 100 different ways,
Mhm.
and every single time that you play it is just different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely encouraging you to experiment. That doesn't have that feel that there was not really one best weapon to push
Yeah.
you down. It's kind of like, if this is your play style, go for it. And the combat, I mean, I was taken aback in a good way
Hmm.
when first getting my hands on it. Just like, this isn't the type of combat that I was just expecting to just blindly bash the attack button. The game quickly pushes back on you at that, but it's great because there's a
That's.
lot more flexibility in there
Mhm.
than initially I expected going in. But you said the word variety there, Scott. I think it's good. It's worth getting your thoughts on the enemy variety in this game as well, because again, it's not what I expected when I had before I had started playing. Like, I thought it would just be a standard sprite based enemies in there. It was a pleasant surprise, shall we say?
Yeah, it's incredible, and it only gets even better the longer that you play it. You know what I mean? Like, it's there are certain enemies that I literally never want to see again. Like, I don't want to go too far into it, but there is enemies late game that I genuinely never want to see again in my life because I could not dodge them for
Yeah.
for love nor money. It was impossible. Um, but yeah, I mean, enemy variety throughout the game, it's just throwing loads of different combat encounters at you. And the good thing about that is that every single time you kill an enemy, they drop bones,
Mm.
and you can use those bones to level yourself up. So every single time that you get it's like you hit like a threshold, so it might be 2,500 bones to level up different things like attack, defense, your magic meter, and your bone stones, and they basically preserve your bones,
Mhm.
how many you have. You might be able to level them up as you go along. So yeah, you're wanting to get into combat, and
Yeah.
the
No,
problem with that, Liam, is that it's fucking hard as well. It's like we're not talking about, I've given The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past I mentioned here, but it's not combat like that. You're actively having to think about when you're getting in there to hit enemies. When are you dodging out the way? Like using the hammer, for example, when you charge that thing up, there's a dodge roll, so you can move out the way as you're charging it up, and it's brilliant because you can constantly be mobile as you're using it. But you're also very, very easy to hit at that point as well. So it's like it's things that you have to weigh up. But the enemy variety is absolutely incredible.
Mhm.
And as I say, it constantly ramps up as you go through the whole game. Like by the end of it, you're like, you're so good at the game at that point. But it's getting to a point where they kind of change the way. It's like, like I don't know what I'm doing here anymore.
I mean, that's just yeah. I mean, compliments the design of it. I mean, just as you start to feel like you're getting the hang of some these enemies, like they just chuck another one right in your face where you're just having to just tweak that timing
Hmm.
ever so slightly. And it's a fantastic mix of the combat, but also the platforming aspect of it as well, which I appreciated. But I mean, you touched on that earlier, Scott, about this hollowing mechanic, which is something that's, again, once you start to get the hang of it, it's a total game changer in terms of
Hmm.
how you approach the game. And I think that could potentially be the thing that separates this game from just being another retro inspired action game. But how would you say like the hollow mechanic evolves as the game opens up?
I don't think the hollow mechanic evolves at all.
Mhm.
To be honest with you, now that's not a negative. Is that the hollow mechanic is the hollow mechanic?
Yeah.
It's how you change it. So like the game isn't changing it for you. Is that you might add these trinkets to your arsenal where you hollow, you might be able to put down poison, so it might leave a trail of poison behind you, like a slug, and the enemies can walk into that. Um, it's those kind of things that change as you use it. You might want to hollow for a bit longer because some of the platforming areas as you move through the game require a bit more precision.
Mhm.
So you might want to take a bit more time, especially some of those late game bosses as well. You want to be underground as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And initially, as you play it, you're hollowing for a couple of seconds, and then you come back up, and you have to go again. Like you have to hit A. I think it was X A on the Steam Deck. Jump, hit A again, and then you're down. You
Yeah.
hold that in, and then you can bounce back up again. But when you come back up, there's a wee second where it kind of debuffs, and then you have to go back and do it again. You can't do it repeatedly, so you can't really cheese it to
Mhm.
begin with. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have that flexibility as you start, but as you play and play and play more, you can add that to it. Now you can also change your mind and don't do that. You know what I mean? If you want to keep it the exact same way from the beginning, you can. That you really don't have to do these things, and that's the beauty of it all. You're going to have these absolute heathens out there that want to do like a Dark Souls level one speed run who literally don't want to upgrade anything, who don't want to add trinkets to anything, don't want to change their weapons, and just run through this game no bother. And you can, like all the tools are there. It's easy enough for you to do if you wanted to do that. And I think that's going to prove quite interesting in the future. Like a speed run of this game is going to be phenomenal
Oh
as it,
god.
as it goes on.
God, yeah. I mean, and take my hat off to them as well for figuring it out because
Hmm.
it's no mean feat. I mean, when I found that once I understood the hollow mechanic itself, like, and it's that risk reward that's permeating throughout the whole game within the combat as well, but also the platform, just to like have a go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, there is kind of like that Souls S mechanic there in terms of wanting to keep your bones, etc. But it's like the once you get it down, man, like it delivers some highs that I was not really expecting, and
Hmm.
that's the thing because this game just continued to subvert expectations all the way through it. And one thing I think we do have to touch on now, because when people are going into this, I think the art style in particular, if you're not familiar with Yacht Club Games, but the art style, you might be thinking, right, I quite like that, my old school game. I like that Game Boy Color type aesthetic, but it feels like it could be around the difficulty, which might be a bit of a make or break point for people because from everything we've said, or at least hinted at, Mina the Hollower is a very hard game.
Yeah.
You know?
I couldn't believe it as I was playing it. Like you mentioned when you die, you have to keep your bones, and when you die, you have these sparks basically your soul. Think of it as Dark Souls. You've got these sparks that you keep, and if you lose them, you can pick them back up in the world. Similarly, as to what you would do in Shovel Knight, and that's what you want to do. You want to go back and pick those up. But it's brutal. Like, and it's not even just brutal in terms of the combat. Some of the platforming sections as you're playing this game are a nightmare. Like, it's like, what do you want me to do here?
Yeah.
It's just incredible. But I will give them, props for is that I think they've recognised that as well.
Mm.
Like, as part of the game, you do have these modifiers included where if you want to make the game slightly easier for yourself, like if you want to go through the game and not take damage, you can do that.
Yeah.
There's other modifiers in there as you go through, that might make your game easier for you. And you can use them, and you might not get, they call them feats, but a little bit like of, the achievements that you get as you play the game. You might not pick them up as you play it, but you're still finishing the game, and we talk about that a lot on our show in terms of, you shouldn't feel ashamed of how you complete something as long as you can enjoy it,
Yeah.
then it's good. And I think Yacht Club have done a really good job of, they probably understand that they've made something hard. It's
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
they've given people the option to make it easier for themselves if they wanted to.
100%. We always talk about it, from our perspective. Yeah, like, does it respect your time? And I think this game, albeit it's about 20 to 30 hours roughly to expect to in terms of playthrough, but it could easily be double that if you're someone that's, not really too well versed in the
Mhm.
style of games. But those accessibility, or those modifier options, should I say, sorry, is they were game changing, because I'm playing that and I'm immediately just going, do you know what? I'm just going to just tweak this slightly. I think there's ones like
Mhm.
balls and stuff like that as well, because I'm like, do you know, I'm quite happy to do that. Put all the stuff to one side, but of course, for the most part, it's like, yeah, just play this pure. But it's like for a second run and stuff, yeah, you could just bump off like the no deaths, the no
Yeah.
damage type thing. But the suite of modifiers in there, it means that no matter what type of gamer you are, there's a way for you to kind of open the door and experience this. I think that immediate comparison back to the FromSoft games, and it's always been that big difficulty discussion comes up. I think they've immediately thought about that here, but I think it's also going to play really well, I think, for this game's success going forward, because it will open the doors to lots of different types of players. And particularly for us, I feel like you know, a grown up gamer that's, bogged down with, a lack of free time. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak and all that. This is definitely a way to kind of make sure that you can, enjoy this in your own way, which I'm like,
Mhm.
definitely gets a tick from myself on that, because it's something that I think a lot of games these days could probably really take lessons from, to be fair. That would be said though, Scott, the difficulty is there. I mean, if you're playing this just default as as intended and stuff like that with the original vision, you know, you could have potential frustration points, but that's just to be expected of a
I
game
mean,
that's difficult.
yeah, I definitely had frustration points towards the end where I teetered over the modifiers. I was like, I can't do this anymore. But I didn't. I persevered, and it's like beating your first boss in Dark Souls. It's like I done that myself. I didn't take any help here, and it feels good. It feels as good as the first time you've done it, so it doesn't change.
It's true. That's true. And obviously, you touched on it there. So you mentioned the boss fights, and we have to talk about this, without spoiling anything. But, would you say that there's some old timers in here for you, Scott? Ones that stood out? What is it about them that made them special or not so special?
I mean, they're special in terms of, think of the boss fights in A Link to the Past.
Hmm.
Like, they're special because what they do within that zone. You know what I mean? Like, there's one sure that takes you on a different path, and it's a little bit more open, and that's cool. It's like having to dodge things within a certain area, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. But I don't think there's one boss that I can sit here and say, yeah, this was the greatest boss that I've ever seen. Do you know what I mean? Because by the end of it, they all fuse into one thing in my head. I remember bits here and I remember bits there, but they're definitely unique. Every single one of them are unique. And I think that in a game like this, in this 8-bit style, sort of aping off of what we know from Zelda and things like that,
Mhm.
that's all you can really ask for. You're not just hitting a weak point in someone's arse because you can reach that. Do you know what I mean? Like you're doing a little bit more
Yeah,
with it,
yeah,
and it's cool that way.
yeah, 100%. I was definitely impressed. When if you select this art style in particular, you're kind of boxed in and limited
Yeah.
by the options in terms of how creative you can be with the bosses. However, I didn't find myself dissatisfied, and I thought they made the most of the canvas available to them, in particular,
Yes.
which was good. But I think people will definitely get a lot of satisfaction out of the boss fights in it. Like you says, when you beat them, you just get that feeling of like
Yeah.
just they're down.
It's like
That's it.
it's great, and then you get a wee reward at the end for it. So it's just like
Yeah.
it's always worth it. What I would say though, Liam, and then it's something that you know, any boss fight is only as good as the soundtrack that accompanies it. We think about the Father Gascoigne fight in Bloodborne, and we can all play that song in our head.
Mhm, mhm.
It's and the music in this, Jake Kaufman does an incredible job. The Shovel Knight soundtrack has lived on my Spotify playlist for as long as I can remember, and this is just as good. You know what I mean? It's excellent in terms of everything that you would come to expect from a game like this. And each of the different areas that you go to has a soundtrack that I'm trying to be as vague as humanly possible here, but it has a soundtrack that complements it
Yeah,
so well.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And it creates this world where it feels living and breathing. And that's not just through the music, that's through all the NPCs and stuff as well. Like the first town that you enter called Ossex is just a little as a town that you meet the mayor of. He's the one that invites you to the Tenebrae Isle, Mayor Lionel,
yeah,
and it's a big lion who's cool as hell. And that town, it has its populace that are, extravagant, and they're all rich, and everyone's, pompous, and they all have their own concerns of their own. Like, some of them can't find a certain cloak that they've lost or
yeah,
whatever, which is ridiculous. But then you've got this seedy underbelly that's at the other side of it, where, there's a certain character that will bump into you a few times that you will
yeah,
grow to hate, right at the wrong moment. Um, and then there's also moments in it where you're walking through the town that you will quite literally be grabbed out
yeah,
of thin air, and it terrifies you every single time it happens. You don't come to expect it, but it's like things like that. They've obviously taken time and care into a town like that, and that's just expanded through the whole game. Like every single area that you go to is filled with things like that. It's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Honestly, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's really impressive, man. Like, the game's absolutely packed full of secrets, and if you're somebody that likes to explore, you're
Yeah.
going to have a good time there. I would say. I think, hats off to them. I do commend them for it because I think again, this probably hides a lot of its depths, and I think it comes down to the art style again for me.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know what it is looking at it, but I personally loved it. But there is so much more deeper. I walked in thinking before we got the review code in that, I was generally thinking this could be like a 7 to 10 hour little romp type thing. And, absolutely pleasantly delighted it wasn't the case. But this is something that, I think that this will be one of those games that you're going to be seeing a lot of people, a lot of fans on YouTube just diving deep into the game's lore that
Hmm.
clearly put their full backside behind into building. You appreciate it because they could have taken the other path and instead, they've doubled down and they've went, you know what, let's just make this as rich as possible, keep players on their toes. And if you are just wanting to just kind of just take a bit of a downbeat time and just explore a little before you get back into one of the biomes, then fair play that
Yeah.
you can actually do it. I
And
would
it, and
say,
it, and it encourages that. Like, it
yeah,
encourages you doing that. It's always worth your while taking a wee trip off the beaten path. Maybe hollowing into places that you think you might be able to, because it's always something worth checking out there.
that's true. That's true. I mean, I would say, I mean, my critiques on this game, I mean, if I boil it down to three, I mean, I think the difficulty is going to be one of those things. I think it's going to either get in the way despite the modifiers. I think some people might probably hit a brick wall with it. It sounds daft. Me personally, I know that I really loved and appreciated the art style. However, I think for some gamers, they might find it just to be a little bit too visually, I don't know, arresting on their eyes over time. I found it was something I had to play not too long sessions because I felt like my eyes are starting to go square at that point, and that's just me spoiled with current games. You know what I mean? Like with the way and style of all that as well. But And outside of that, really, I mean, I was really struggling because I'm not trying to do that for the sake of it, but it's like, I always come back to that Simpsons episode where it's like, you're a critic, you don't have to like everything. But I don't know, you, Scott, was there any lowlights in there as well?
I mean, genuinely, probably just some of the difficulty points of it, and it's not, and it was just maybe not even the combat, just some of the platforming sections really got me at the end. Like I was just like, come on now, like I'm so close, that it was killing me, and there are moments where you are going to get lost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I didn't know where to go. There was a point in it where I'd maybe got two or three of the generators, and I was like, I couldn't tell you how to get to this new area. And the game does a really good job that when you beat a boss and light one of the generators, there's a newspaper that releases it, tells you what's happened, and it tells you sort of, it gives you like a headline of where you might want to go next. And you don't have to do it that way. The developers have been quite open in that if you wanted to complete it any other way, then you can do. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can go, 1, 3, 5, whatever way you want to go. But there was an area that I could not find for the life of me, and thank God for community Discord chats, because if it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd have ever got there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
when you do it, it's so obvious, but it's like, yeah, after you do that, you're like, I now know that I can do this, and that'll be a moment that'll click for every single person playing this game, and it's like, right, that changes so much for me now. Like
Mhm.
I've now got more verticality than I've ever had before, and it's like, wow. And you
Yeah.
kind of need to go through that. It's like a necessary step, but it just took me far too long to figure that out, and that it bugged me by that point. But I still finished it, 25, 30 hours, and I probably hit the top end of that easy. And
Yeah.
it genuinely felt like I'd been playing it for 10. Like
Yeah.
the hours melted away as I was playing it. It was unreal.
High praise indeed. So, Scott, if somebody has been hovering over that wish list button, wondering whether Mina the Hollower is worth their time, where do you land? What's your final score and verdict on this game?
I sincerely don't think I could give this anything but a 10, Liam. I genuinely don't. I think this is a perfect game for what it's set out to be.
Mhm.
I think Yacht Club have a package here at the perfect price. $20 is nothing in video games nowadays. It covers the whole spectrum of where you might want to buy games. Excellent. It has the combat variety, it has the character variety, it has the build variety, it has the music, it has the boss fights, it has the exploration, it has the story, Liam. The
Mhm.
blooming story. It just has everything that a game that you would want from something right now, you know, and the value of it. We talk about value and respecting our time. This does everything,
Yeah.
$20 as a barrier of entry is nothing nowadays. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think this, in my estimations, this is a absolute certainty 10 out of 10 game. And if this does not feature within the top three of my game of the year list this year, I will be shocked, because it's phenomenal.
There we go.
Genuinely fucking brilliant.
Well, you've heard it there, folks. Mina the Hollower, 10 out of 10 on the Pixels parents scale here. But let us know in the comments below if Mina the Hollower is on your radar. And if you've enjoyed the review, please make sure to subscribe here for more reviews, gaming discussions, and weekly podcast episodes right here on Pixel Parents. I've been Liam. That's been Scott. That's all
That's
for
me.
now. Thank you.
Bye.